that impact the effectiveness, why some people don't believe it's effective, and an overall conclusion. That's just one way to lay this out. There's lots of other valid ways to do this. When I set this up, I'd be saying things like, to a significant extent, it has worked here, or some individuals have found this. However, these things have occurred. So that's one example. Another example is, in what ways can a woman pursue a career in STEM? Now, the answer is lots of different ways. There's so many different ways that this can happen. And this student had a couple of different focus questions. So in their intro, they'd define what STEM is, and then they'd work through what are the fields women can work in, what are the traditional boundaries, how education comes in, etc., etc. So the focus questions are sitting there within the paragraphs, but overall, we've got a really clear answer. In what ways? Well, many ways. Let me tell you all about it. A what question is obviously a lot more simple. It's just a let me list these things. And this is why we traditionally get you to not do what questions, because you're not going to be able to really get the depth that you want from it. This is where this person's synthesis would be bringing together each of the things that they found out. And that's a totally fine way to answer this question. When we look at how they do it, though, to try and build an argument, or a bit of a sense of bringing it together, what we want is to actually think about how you structure your paper. So if they were doing it as a report, they might have different headings about the finances and the cost, and then they have another one about the things to think about when you're choosing a puppy, etc., etc. So you can see this person did, in the intro, they set the scene. Why do people buy puppies? How many people own puppies? And then in each of the paragraphs, they've talked about the different things that should be considered. That's one way to do it. They could have done it as an infographic and had each of those as a heading. There's a whole bunch of different ways. What's the main thing is that the focus questions should help you answer your main question. And if they don't, then you need to consider if they're still relevant. So in some of the discussions that I had with students who were at the masterclass today, it became clear that maybe not all of their focus questions were working the way that they wanted them to. So they chopped them or they changed them. And that, I think, really leads to these key takeaways. If you're going to start making adjustments to your question, that's a really normal thing to happen at this stage of the project. But make sure that the answer to your question is clear, that you're constantly going back to it. At no point should your reader be confused about what they're reading, and grapple with the uncertainty. Okay, so if you've got contradictory evidence, use it to your advantage. Say things like, Dr. X didn't agree with the other sources, but I still believe that, the alternative argument is true for these reasons. Really grapple with it and show your skill in using your evidence. If you have any questions or comments, please get in touch. It's really an important part of the research, and it's really the difference between that really strong outcome and a pretty decent one. So good luck.